Creating a modal is such a complex thing in the world of frontend. You need to have a container, it needs to be focus logged, it needs to be above everything else, while making sure that it's accessible and can be closed by a user whenever they want. So, what if I told you we have a specification like that called the dialog element? A lot of the functionality that is required to create a modal is already inside this dialog element. That means you get to write less amount of code and save a lot of time. So let's start with creating a dialog element. Let's say we have this random page where we have a sales site, something that can sell a product to the customer, and we have a buy now button associated with it. And the purpose of this buy now button is to have a confirm screen or a modal to get confirmation from the user that can confirm whether the user wants to buy it or not. So let's start by having a dialog element, and to access it, let's give it an ID of my dialog. The content that can be inside it is, let's say, I just want some random text to tell the user, can you confirm? So I'm just going to write the exact same thing. Can you please confirm? And we can have a button here that can say something like, yep, I can confirm. The button is going to say, yes, I can confirm. Now that the dialog is here, let's see it's on the page or not. It is on the page, but it doesn't show up. Let's bind an event to this button to open this dialog here. Let's start with getting a reference to this button. So we're gonna say document.query selector of this button. Let's put it inside a variable button DOM equals to this. Next we want to have is this button to have an add event listener of, say, click. So when we click on it, it's going to perform certain operations. Since it's not like a huge code, I'm not going to have like a proper function name or anything. It can be just an anonymous function. So in this click function, what we want to do is we want to open the dialog. The way you can open a dialog is just using the method showModal. Let me show you how. First, we'll get the reference to this dialog. So let dialog DOM equals to document.query selector of this ID, and when we get that, we can just say dialog DOM.showModal. That's it. Let's see how it works. I come to the page and I click on buy now. That's all. It shows you a modal. Now the question is, what if you have a modal that shows up by default in its open state? There are always a scenario like that where you need to keep the modal open by default, like those pesky ad blocker messages that show up in a modal, like disable ad blocker, and so that we can earn money, all that crap. So here is a way to keep this open by default. You just add the open attribute here, and when you come here and refresh the page, then it opens up as open by default. Now you're like, hey Pratik, this is an amazing technology, but do I need to bind an event to close it with the help of an escape key? No. Let's go back to our original example where it doesn't show up by default. I am clicking on this button to open the dialog, and without any code, if I press escape key, it goes away. Click it again, escape key, goes away. You wrote nothing, no code required. Another thing is, you're like, that's good, but what if I want to perform certain operations when the dialog closes or modal closes? Sure, you can do that. Let's get a reference to the dialog. Okay, and whenever you close it, it's going to trigger a close event. So we're gonna bind a close event here, and you can do whatever you want, but just for the example's sake, I'm just gonna print out a message saying dialog closed. Save it, and here you have this open, and when I close it, it now spits out dialog closed message. So here you should be able to perform your other operations that is required from that dialog. Now you're like, okay, I understand the HTML part of the dialog element. I understand the event of this, the events or JavaScript part of this particular dialog element. What if I want to beautify this model? Sure, you can do that. Let's come back to the code part here. I'm just gonna open the style part. You have the dialog is by my dialog. Let's start with the background. A lot of dialogs a lot of modals that show up on the web pages have some sort of an overlay which has certain opacity to it. What I'm gonna do is I am going to use the backdrop pseudo class. Once you use backdrop pseudo class, you can add, say, opacity to 0.9, or you can say background color to green here. So now we have a green background with opacity. You can say give it 0.3, open it, and it's now 0.3. I'm gonna close it. Now you're like, that's good. I can control the opacity of the background color. How do I change the look and feel of this container, of the dialog itself? So this is a fairly new feature that is not out yet. It's behind a flag. So I'm just gonna add a modal pseudo class here, and here if you say border radius to say 40%, nah, I will say 10 pixel. Somehow I like that figure a lot. I'm just gonna have a background color of blue with font color of white. I'm sure it's not going to work on this thing, so we are going to switch to Chrome Canary. Okay, let's open Chrome Canary and we'll put in the exact same URL where we are running our server. And now, since it's supported in Chrome Canary and it's supposed to be out in the next version of Chrome, when you click on Buy Now, the modal that shows up, it has the background color of blue and it has a color of white. So, without even doing anything extra, you just added styles to your dialog. Now you're like, oh hey, this is all good. How do I close the modal without without the escape key? I want a button on the screen. So let's do that. Let's add a button with X, and let's have a class so that we can bind it to a certain event. So here let close button. We will get this get the reference to this button, and when we have like a click event on it, we will close the dialog. So how do we close it? Just like how we were showing the modal, we will, instead of calling show modal, we'll just call the close method. So now if we are here, let's open it. This is the close button. Of course you can style it however you want, but when I close it, when I click on it, it closes the modal. The good thing about this is everything is inside the browser. You're not using any specific library, or you're not creating your own modal library from scratch. And since it uses very less amount of lines of code, you can get it done like really quick. You don't have to spend a lot of time understanding how it works. It just works out of the box. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you can now use it and get rid of those existing modal libraries that you might have created to make things work. Yeah, I will be putting this code on a GitHub library, on a GitHub repository. Links will be down in the comments. Feel free to use it for reference if you want. But yeah, that's it guys. I hope you like this small tutorial. Talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.